What's going on, college hoops heads? This is another live stream on the Center Hub's YouTube channel. My name is Stephen Bagell. I am hosting this evening along with Conrad Pascual and Andrew Schaeffer. College basketball is here, I guess. I mean, technically, it's here. It's the eve of college basketball. We are live right now, Sunday, November 2nd. We have a game as early as 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Shout out to the team at the Field of 68 for that, because who doesn't love 8 a.m. games involving Winthrop and Queens University?
Conrad doesn't, because it's 5 a.m. his time.
Well, which I'm already awake. I mean, especially if it involves a ball bouncing. Hell yeah.
So we have, as I said, 8 a.m. Eastern, Winthrop and Queens. Then 11 a.m. Bradley and St. Bonaventure, which is a really fun game. Obviously, St. Bonaventure has a Woj factor. Bradley has been one of the better teams in the Missouri Valley for a while now. They have a couple 11:30, 12, 1 o'clock games, all against Division II or worse schools. Then you have Murray State, Omaha at 1:30. Like, Drake, North Arizona at 4. So, we do have some games leading up to tomorrow night. Let's start with, first of all, Conrad, how are you doing today?
Excellent. As you said, I mean, the contrast from a week ago, we recorded on a Sunday, right? All my football teams lost, real life and fantasy, have a little bit more success this week. So that puts me in a good mood. But again, NBA is going great. And as you said, it is the eve of college basketball. I'm pumped, because I think, we've been doing all our research, our analysis. Now we actually get to enjoy real games.
Angel, how are you doing today?
I'm good. It feels like Christmas Eve.
It does.
It does. I mean, it's a huge day tomorrow for the sport. Field of 68 did a great job putting this stuff together so early in the morning, and looking forward to watching it all and finally get underway with the madness. And hopefully all our magazine predictions come true starting tomorrow.
Speaking of, go purchase the Center Hub's College Basketball Season Preview magazine. It is now 33% off for the next week with the with the season here. For the first week, we're doing 33% off. So it's $8. Link is in the bio on YouTube, or it is in our pin tweet on Twitter. With that said, it's a little bittersweet for me, guys, because I love college basketball, as you guys know. We're real sickos when it comes to this kind of stuff. Oh, yeah. But, I covered 40 games last year. This year, I'm hoping to do 60 to 70 plus. So, I'm happy it's here, but, my schedule is about to get real hectic. Tomorrow, I believe I'm going to do St. Joe's versus Lafayette at St. Joe's at Hagan Arena. A piece of me does. I was approved for credentials for the Hall of Fame series in Baltimore, which is Buzz Williams' debut at Maryland against Coppin State, and then Towson Loyola Maryland doubleheader. I don't know. It's just, obviously I'm Philadelphia local. It's easier for me to get to St. Joe's after work rather than driving all the way to Baltimore and then driving home and having to work. So obviously, it's easier to go to St. Joe's. Wednesday, I'm doing Temple versus Delaware State, which is Temple season opener.
Oh, and yeah.
Friday, I'm doing Penn and Rowan, who is D2, a New Jersey school, which is Penn season opener. Do I have anything Sunday? Saturday, those, obviously, Drexel St. Joe's I can't attend. I have obligations on Saturday, and Sunday is an off day. So 3 games this week for me. 3 or 4, depending if I end up going to Baltimore, which I don't think I am.
That is what makes you the center of the Center Hub.
That's right.
The Center Hub of the Center Hub.
Okay, excuse me.
Okay, let's talk about the 2 games in Vegas. I was at yesterday Villanova's media availability. Villanova had media availability at 9:15 in the morning. Then they had a shoot around. Then they flew straight to Vegas.
Okay.
So to play BYU. So Villanova, I know had a hectic day yesterday. Because I was there and they told me the game plan. But we have Florida and Arizona at 7. Following that is Villanova, BYU. Let's talk about Florida, Arizona first, obviously, because that's the defending champ. That's the 2 higher ranked teams between those two matchups. Andrew, what are you looking for? Do we know Florida's starting five? I know there was a report that they said Xavier Lee is backup point guard to Boogie Fland, but I would imagine they're still the starting backcourt with, the front court from last year. Do we know? I don't have any clarity on it.
I don't know for sure, but if I were to guess, it's probably Fland, Lee, Howe, Condon, and
Shinyelu.
Yeah.
That would be my guess. I mean, Conrad would know better than me since he wrote it for the magazine, but I would think that's what they're going to go with.
So,
I mean, everything Coach Golden said over summer practices, summer workouts was that Xavier Lee was the starting point guard. Like he he espoused a lot of praise of Xavier Lee and talked in length about how he is entrusting Lee to put the ball in his hands, which is, again, like I saw those same things too, those projections, like even those lists of like top point guards and Flan's on it, but Lee's not. And I'm like, I mean, I think Lee's going to be on ball significantly more. So,
well, the other thing too is Xavier Lee's going to play. Boogie Fland has been hurt, and I don't, he's been in and out of the lineup. So even last year at Arkansas, he was hurt.
Yeah.
So that's the other problem. But I agree, Lee should be up there. Totally agree with you there.
So we have those two games in Vegas. Again, we're going to be basically previewing just about the entire first week and what to expect. So I don't want to spend too much time talking about any games. What I will say that's intriguing to me is BYU versus Villanova. As someone who covers Villanova, Kevin Willard all off-season rather, at Villanova Media Day, at Big East Media Day, at media availability yesterday, the emphasis of this Villanova team is going to be on the defensive end of the court. He's making sure they're switching basically 1 through 5. He wants to be so versatile defensively, and we know BYU last year, before they had Rob Wright and AJ DeBonster, were a very offensive-heavy team, how Kevin Young played. So I'm anticipating probably even more of that now that they added DeBonster and now that they added Rob Wright. I'm very intrigued to see how those two styles of play against each other. Like, is Villanova's defense going to be able to slow down BYU? Is BYU's offense going to, really get Villanova out of their comfort zone defensively? Like that, it's going to be very intriguing. And honestly, I'm going to take BYU. BYU's by far the more talented team. BYU's definitely 3 best players would be the best player on Villanova. Hands down, obviously. They honestly might have 4 or 5 players that might be the best player on Villanova. But I do think a couple guys on Nova will step up. Devin Askew is out for the game. Kevin Willard yesterday said he's not allowed to comment on injuries. But he told us after the exhibition game against VCU, Askew's probably going to miss the first game, then be back for whatever the second game is. We have Matt C in the chat here. BYU by 7 to 10, which, Villanova. Sorry, I'll leave that up. Villanova is an 8.5-point favorite, so, I mean, that sounds about right. I think BYU could run them out of the gym. I don't think they will, just because of how much upside the defense has. But as college basketball fans, like, what are we looking for in either of those games? Either Villanova, BYU, or Florida, Arizona?
Well, I think Villanova, BYU, I think you said it, and it should not be understated, is we kind of talked about this in our, our college season preview live streams, where it seems like each conference kind of has like they take on their own identity, right? Like they collectively play a similar style. Villanova, Big East, I'm saying, anything like they play a significantly slower, like a grinded out style, which definitely, if they are setting the tone, if they are setting the pace, that does not play in BYU's favor. So it definitely could. I mean, the more they muck it up, the more, it favors Villanova. Given that it's like game 1, you kind of saw the opportunity, like how BYU played during their exhibition. They were very opportunistic scoring with forcing turnovers, getting out into the open court. We'll see if that's the case tomorrow. I mean, again, it's only game 1, but I feel like because of that reason, it could potentially be a little bit closer. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if, Villanova keeps it within that 8.5 spread.
Andrew, go ahead.
No, sorry. I was going to say, like, if Villanova wants a shot, they've got to slow the game down. Conrad's right. They have to absolutely slow it down. I'm very fascinated to watch a Caden Lewis versus Richie Saunders. You know, Caden Lewis has been one of the more undervalued freshmen in the country that no one talks about. Richie Saunders obviously was very good for BYU last year. You know, obviously Devance is going to be the story, though. Obviously, he has the potential to be the number one pick in the NBA draft. I think, you know, for Villanova, you know, I know they probably have realistically probably an outside shot of making the tournament. I mean, I don't think it's probably going to happen this year, but if they want to make the tournament, this would be a nice win to get for them as a resume building win for Kevin Willard, and people will start to buy into him more. You know, even though I don't think that's going to be an issue anyway for him because he obviously has a ton of experience in the Big East. But I think BYU should win this game comfortably. I think 8.5 honestly probably isn't enough. When it comes to Florida, what's going to be interesting is I think Jaden Bradley is going to play really well for Arizona because I am concerned. I know Conrad and I have talked about this. I am concerned about Florida defensively in the backcourt. I have some issues there with Fland and Lee, and Jaden Bradley was not on a Big 12. I believe he wasn't on a Big 12 all-conference team. So Jaden Bradley I think is due for a big year for Arizona, and Koa Pete, I think is going to be a lottery pick. I think he's that good. So I'm very fascinated to watch Arizona and Florida. Arizona's also pretty young. You know, it's a young group, and Tommy Boy talked about going that route. And Florida obviously brings back, you know, a bunch of guys, and, you know, they're obviously very experienced. So it'll be interesting to watch. So, but I agree with Conrad on a lot of what he said.
Yeah, I agree. If I had to bet the game, I would take BYU, as much as I would love to see, obviously, Villanova have the upset.
Yeah.
Same thing. I'm going to take Florida. I think they're my preseason number 2. Spoiler alert, I am releasing a weekly top 75 teams article. The preseason one for opening day will be out tomorrow morning on the Center Hub's website. Go check that out. Some interesting NBA draft prospects in that game too for both Arizona and Florida. And we are actually dropping our first Center Hub video mock draft 1.0 tomorrow on YouTube as well. So be on the lookout for that. But okay, again, like there's so many games I want to go through this week. I don't want to spend too much time just on those two. I'm just looking at some interesting games for tomorrow. Illinois, Jackson State. I mean, that's going to be a blowout, but Illinois does have quite a bit of injuries. I know the point guard. I'm blanking on his name. The international point guard they got, the 21-year-old.
Petrovic,
yeah. So he's out tomorrow, correct?
Correct. Yeah. I don't think he's playing.
And Stojakovic is a game time decision.
So, yeah, I mean, they'll probably sit him against an opponent like that. I can't imagine Brad Underwood's going to take the risk there. So yeah, that's just a game I'd have on my radar. Obviously, we talked about all the Field of 68 games with like St. Bonaventure. Bradley's a great game. The Sun Belt and MAC Challenge has a lot of good games. Like Ohio and Arkansas State might be the 2 best teams respectively in each of those conferences. They're playing each other. I know Akron's up there as well. Yeah, Akron plays JMU, which I think is going to be an awesome. Yeah. That's an awesome game. I think both of those teams I'm picking both of those teams to win their leagues. So I think that's going to be a great game.
Samford Tulane's a really fun one. Samford's obviously under Bucky McMillan the last few years have been highly successful. Now, obviously, they have Lenny Akoff, but like they're still going to be a very good mid-major, and I think Tulane is a sleeper in the American, I'll say. I don't know if they win it, but I'm very high on Tulane. High Point and Furman. Again, Furman may very well win the SoCon, and High Point is the favorite to win the Big South this year. So, like, these are just very fun mid-major games. Last one I'll say, and then we have a question in the chat. Alabama and North Dakota, I will mention, like, that's going to be an offensive shootout. I believe those 2 teams played each other last year as well, and it was...
Yeah, that was Eagle Staff's 50... Was that his 51-point game?
I think
that he had? Yeah. No.
So, and obviously Eagle Staff's at West Virginia now.
Yes.
So do you guys have any other games you want to, throw out there for tomorrow? Or I have a question in the chat, and then...
For both as a fan and as a draft guy, I will be watching Michigan Oakland only because, right? Like I think there is renewed optimism about what Ademara can actually do. You know, we saw some flashes again when he was able to get like, you know, a little more extended run late last season, but still ultimately, you know, a guy who's averaging, you know, what roughly around like 10 minutes per game. You need to see like if this translates, if it could scale up. He looked great in the preseason, you know, in the exhibitions. So again, right, I think obviously they should win. They should win very comfortably. But again, you'd want to see, you know, the front court, you know, Yaxel, Morris Johnson, and Ademara. They should dominate. I'd like to see them like all on the same page because they kind of like took turns, right, during the exhibitions. So that's just one thing, but that's more like to set up the big macro view.
So I'll give you three, Steve.
Okay.
Youngstown State Pitt.
Okay.
That's my upset game tomorrow. I think Youngstown State goes in there and wins that game. They're my pick to win the Horizon League.
Okay.
So that's one. Troy, Kent State. Remember, Troy was the representative last year in the Sun Belt. Kent State obviously has been very good in the MAC for quite a while. We know this. And then I really like the Old Dominion Miami Ohio game. I know Conrad's high in Old Dominion, and Miami Ohio is good. Like Travis Steele has a squad, and I think Old Dominion can win that game. I do. I like what Old Dominion's got. I agree with Conrad. I think Old Dominion could steal it.
So we have a question here from Swish for Real, which is Mike Lampkin, contributor at the Center Hub. Go follow his work. Go check out his YouTube channel and everything he's been doing. He's asking for an Elite Eight. Let's give a Final Four, just because Elite Eight, it's, you know, obviously takes a lot more. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and I already have my Final Four lined up, so like I don't need to
Me too.
think.
Do you have all the tiebreakers lined up, Steven?
Conrad, I don't know why you're doing basketball. You should just do comedy. There are no tiebreakers in March Madness, as you know.
True.
So I know I don't have them lined up. So I have. Mike said, "Dang." So here's what I'm going to do. Since we like Mike so much, we're going to say our Final Four and give a couple, you know, potential other teams.
Sure.
So I have Houston, Purdue, and Florida, which are three of my top four teams in the preseason. My fourth team is Texas Tech, who I have somewhere in the top 10. If I had to pick a Final Four, that's who I'm gonna pick. I think UConn is up there. I think obviously St. John's, but like all the top teams like are always the chalky picks for Final Four. Let me ask you guys this: if you had to pick one sleeper team, like NC State a couple years ago, like George Mason won that 1 year, or VCU or Davidson, like if you had to pick one sleeper Final Four team, who would it be?
I'll go with Arkansas. I
Okay.
think Cal can make a run. He's got a really good team. Acuff. I love Billy Richmond. He's one of the best, like versatile guys that can play a lot of positions. Brazil's obviously got a ton of length, and we saw in the NCAA tournament his toughness against St. John's. And let's face it, John Calipari wants to stick it to Kentucky. I mean, let's be honest, there's a lot of personal motivation for Cal. So that would be my pick. My sleeper team would be Arkansas.
I would say Gonzaga. I don't know how sleepery that is because like Gonzaga's Gonzaga. I'll say Virginia. I think will make a serious run. But like we're talking like true sleepers. Would it shock? I mean, it would shock you, but Josh Scherzer's St. Louis team. Like Robbie Avila is a mid-major star. They added Otieno from Quinnipiac. Like, I don't know. I could just see that team with how it's assembled, both offensively and defensively, like making a run a little bit. Like I'm saying, like a deep, like VCU, Davidson, George Mason level sleeper.
Well, I think you'd have to throw San Diego State in there. Wouldn't you have to throw San Diego State in there? Probably.
Yeah, but San Diego State's in my preseason top 25. So like,
no, I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah,
it's a non-Power 5 team. So
yeah,
and they're probably the best one.
Conrad, how about you?
I'm pretty much along the same lines as both you guys. I do like Andrew's Arkansas pick, especially after seeing Malik Thomas a little bit more.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say like I'm sold, but I like what I'm seeing, right? I'm starting. I feel like I'm willing to buy, right? But I don't know. I guess at least for now, I'll stick with my preseason rankings. So I'm gonna go with Kentucky. Again, also I like. I know it was only exhibition and everything like that, but again, you kind of go back from what we learned about during their summer workouts. I think that their freshmen are equally poised to contribute right away. By all accounts and by what we've seen, I really like what Jasper Johnson and Malachi Moreno are giving them, especially Jasper Johnson. I thought like, okay, maybe he'll kind of be like on the periphery, of the rotation, but I think he could actually get like solid rotation minutes. Moreno is at least right now, he looks as good as advertised. So to have that kind of functional athleticism at his size, I mean, that's going to come up huge. So I would say, yeah, of the other teams that you mentioned, I think Kentucky could kind of be in the mix.
So let's move on to Tuesday. Obviously, the main one on Tuesday is Duke in Texas. That's the Dick Vitale Invitational. Obviously, the Boozer twins debut, rather. Nick Kamania, Dame Saw, like all the freshmen they have. And then Texas, I'm a little lower on this year. Like, I think they're probably the bottom half of the SEC, which again, like, is still a tournament team. The SEC had 14 bids last year. But I think, when Duke and Texas are not in the same conversation in terms of, like, talent. So I expect Duke to win that one pretty handily. Do either of you have any insight on Duke and Texas, either from a draft standpoint or just a college basketball standpoint?
You want me to go? Yeah, I mean, look, here's what I'd say. Obviously, Cam Boozer is going to be the story, right? He's the number one pick, probably going to be the number one pick in the draft or in the mix for it. I'm so curious to watch Caleb Foster, because he came back, and honestly, I thought he was going to leave. And he's getting the crack to start for Duke. Like, I honestly think Caden Boozer at the end of the day is probably going to be the guy there. But, maybe Caleb Foster will prove us all wrong and have a great game. I don't know.
Who's gonna defend Cam Boozer on Texas? I mean, probably Dalen Swain.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, or you throw Tremont Mark on him with his length. But yeah, probably. It's probably going to be Swain. But I agree with you. Like, Texas, I think it's going to take a while for them to kind of get going. Obviously, I trust Sean Miller. Obviously, he's a great coach. I think it's going to take a little time because, again, new coach, new system, brand new team he's got some guys coming back, but, he has – I think it's just going to take a while for Texas. I don't think they're going to be like, a top, 15, 20 team in the country. I think it's going to take a while. I expect Duke to handle their business tomorrow.
Yeah. Or Tuesday, but yeah.
Tuesday, sorry. Yeah.
You mentioned that you thought Caleb Foster might transfer. So having said that, like, what's your pulse on their rotation? I mean, like, do you think he has a firm grasp on that starting job? Because everyone's basically saying it's like it's a countdown until Caden takes over, right?
Correct, and that's the way I see it. I think when he came back to Duke, I think he was promised by Shire, you're going to start. You're going to be the point guard. You're going to get the opportunity. But if Caden outplays you, it's over. Like, that's just what it is. And I give Caleb Foster, I said this before, I give him a ton of credit for coming back. He could have easily left and probably gone to some other school and had a massive role, but he came to Duke and came back, and I just don't think it's going to last. I just don't. I think Caden Boozer is going to start for them. I'm also curious on Ngangba also, with Malik Brown behind him. I know Malik Brown's been dealing with a knee issue, but like I said, I expect Caden Boozer to start at some point. I think he's going to give Caleb Foster a leash. Like, I think he's going to give him some time. You can't just give him one game. He's going to give him, maybe like, I don't know, 8-9 games, or maybe the full non-conference slate. And then when they get to conference play, then it's like, all right, we got to kind of make a decision.
Nice.
So, other games, Tuesday is not as exciting as Monday night is. Conrad, has something to add before we...
Actually, the very late game of the Tuesday slate, Oregon-Hawaii, I think is kind of like a little underrated matchup. Hawaii, if you ask any of the coaches, like in the Big West, actually, I think the coaches poll reflected it. You know, I think Hawaii even, I don't know if they got any first place votes, but they definitely were, I think, you know, voted to finish like around fourth or fifth, no, fifth, fourth or no, third, fourth or fifth. I can't remember, somewhere in between there in that range. You know, they've been a pretty solid third. Yeah. They've been a pretty solid team these last several years. They kind of retooled. They kind of had like some conference cest, you know, some guys like hopping from school to school within the Big West. But I think they're actually poised to be a little bit more competitive than that matchup seems. And then obviously Oregon. I know Jackson Shellstad has a little bit of a setback there, but you know, Nate Biddle, I think, you know, this is a little difference than last year. Think they're kind of prepared to run a little bit more offense through him, you know, and yeah, I mean, you know, other than Shellstad, I mean, their roster is significantly healthier than it was a year ago. So I think I don't know if I see them making like a sleeper for a Final Four, but I definitely see them being like they could go deep. I think they could be a deep tournament team, assuming they stay healthy and get healthier. You know.
Andrew threw out his Monday upset pick with Youngstown State over Pitt. I have another ACC team potentially getting upset on Tuesday. What about Portland State and Stanford? I know Maxwell. Maxwell wrote the Big Sky preview for the magazine. He's super high on Portland State, and I think he actually had them winning the conference. Like, it would not surprise me if Portland State beat Stanford.
No, not really. I mean, again, like Stanford and Conrad's a local, so he could probably tell you even more than I can. And he interviewed Kyle Smith for me. But, you know, Stanford, there was a lot of questions as to who was going to start for them. I mean, I think there was a lot of, and it's going to be a development here also for them. Like, remember, they lost Maxime Reynaud, they lost Osiah Sellers, like, they lost a lot. And it's going to take a while. They just hired a new athletic director. Like, the alignment's kind of trying to get in place. So I think it's going to take a while. I would not be surprised if Portland State goes in there and wins. That team is going to be a top 2 or 3 team in the Big Sky. You know, I don't know if I'd pick them to win, but I think they're definitely going to be in the mix to win. And I would not be shocked in the least if they go in there and beat them.
And then I'll just say Tuesday night, UNLV, I think, higher on than most. I have them in my top 75 for my piece coming out tomorrow morning. UNLV and friend of the Center Hub, Josh Pastner, and also friend of the Center Hub, Coach Jeremy Schulman from UT Martin. I think that's just a super fun game for us to watch. That's a 10 p.m. tip-off. And then what about Robert Morris, Bobby Moe, and Iowa? There's just the Alvaro
Figueres.
Yeah, he's revenge game.
Alvaro.
Okay.
It's all the same. It's all the same.
Wednesday.
But Romo was good. Remember, they made the tournament last year. I mean, Andy O'Toole can coach. I mean, he's going to be a guy, if Romo can make it again, that's a guy who's going to get promoted next year.
Yeah. No, I could absolutely say it. Any other games on Tuesday? Honestly, the slate's not as exciting as Monday, so I don't think so. Wednesday, I'm going to probably skip altogether looking at the schedule. Yeah. I'm just spending time on like the games that we find most interesting. Thursday is also a pretty slow day. Shout out to Jackson State for playing Illinois and Louisville as the first 2 games. I know you're probably the bye team, but like, even so, like, they should be one of the top contenders for the SWAC. So games like that should make you better. What was the quote that one of the SWAC coaches gave Julian? On a neutral court, we beat people.
Yeah.
So There you go. I'm looking at Thursday. Yeah, Thursday's the other day we had that just nothing really.
Yeah, it's not much.
Northern Iowa, CSU Northridge might be fun. That's really the main one.
CSUN. Yeah. No, Northern Iowa is going to be good. Like, Ben Jacobson's been there a long time. They're my pick to win the Valley. I think the Valley is going to be really fun this year. I think it's going to be a great league. Conrad would know about CSUN better than me, but last year they were a fun team to watch. They were, I think, better than most people thought. But yeah, that should be an interesting game for sure.
Conrad mentioned watching Michigan and Oakland on Monday. Do you guys know Oakland's first 3 games? Have you seen their non-con schedule?
No.
I have not.
Shout out to Greg Campy. They play Monday at Michigan, Friday at Purdue, the next Wednesday at Houston.
Talk about getting ready.
3 times. And, like, they've done that, like, last few years. Like, I remember when John and I interviewed Trey Towson a couple years ago, the year where they beat Kentucky in the tournament, and they won the Horizon.
That was Jack Golke, right?
It was Jack Golke, but when John and I interviewed Trey Towson, who won Horizon League Player of the Year that year,
right?
It was right before they played Xavier, Ohio State, and then one other game, like another 3-game stretch, which wasn't the same as playing 3 top teams in the country like they are this year. But Greg Campy is not afraid to, play those type of games and make his team better for later in the year. So I just wanted to note that. Friday, there's Georgetown at Maryland, which is a fun one. Charleston and Liberty in the Field of 68 tip-off is another great one. Liberty is probably like the best true mid-major in the country, in my opinion. Charleston is obviously going to be the top of the CAA alongside Towson and UNC Wilmington. Georgetown beat Kentucky in exhibition. I don't put much stock into exhibitions, but I know Georgetown fans got super excited after watching that game. I think Georgetown's a better team than Maryland this year.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Based on what Maryland's got a lot of injuries right now. There's the picture going on social media of 3 guys on a scooter. So
Yeah.
it's not a good look for Buzz right now, but I like what Georgetown has. I mean, like you bring in KJ Lewis, Langston Love, Malik Mack can score. And people don't know about Malik Mack, but he can absolutely score. The question for Georgetown is going to be up front replacing Sorber, because I just don't know how they're going to do it. But if they can do it, they can be on the bubble, 100%.
What about Kansas at UNC? 2 teams that are blue bloods that I'm pretty down on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the lowest I've been on Kansas, I think, since I've really, religiously been following college basketball. And North Carolina, same thing. I think they're still a tournament team, both of them. But, given they're both true blue bloods, the expectations are that they compete for championship year in and year out. And I just don't see either of them doing that this year.
Well, I mean, Kansas is obviously going to be must-see TV this year simply because of Darren Peterson, right? But I think right now, both those schools, they're kind of caught in that little gray area of college basketball where, they'll still have a lot of attention because of the likely one-and-done prospects that they are bringing in. I think that's basically what is going to draw. In my opinion, I think that's going to be one of the main draws for casual fans. Let's put it that way, right? People want to see Darren Peterson. They want to see Cole Rosario. They want to see Caleb Wilson, right? With UNC. I want to. I mean, he's really high on my board, 4th. I'll put it out there. He's 4th on my board.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not that crazy according to some of our peers, but I was like, okay. I do think it'll be a great matchup, but I'm with you. I'm not sure how far these teams can go. I know some of our TCH peers one is very high on Kansas. We'll see. That's a very tough conference already. You got to get through. But I think it's going to be a great game, but I think, their outlook is probably a little less clear than some of their conference rivals.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't really need to add much. Conrad hit everything there. I mean, the big story is going to be the NBA guys, Peterson, Wilson. I'm curious to watch Kyan Evans. I just want to see how can he make enough plays? Because we know he can shoot. But does North Carolina have enough playmaking in their offense to be able to be successful? So that's the one guy I'm watching outside of the NBA guys, obviously.
Right.
Another couple games on Friday night that are pretty intriguing. VCU and Utah State. I think those are both borderline NCAA tournament teams. I think Utah State's a clear tournament team, and I think they're definitively the second best team in the Mountain West behind San Diego State. So I think they're going to be a tournament team. VCU, again, with the A-10 being basically a one-bid league for the last however many years. I don't think they're the best team in the A10, so I'm going to say they're not a tournament team right now. But again, they're going to be top 3 in the A10. So still a super fun matchup between those two. Mason Falslev is really good for Utah State. Barry Evans, Jadrian Tracy, Tyrell Ward for VCU. Like, that's just going to be a super fun competitive game. Yale and Navy. In the Center Hubs preview, we had Yale winning the Ivy, and we had Navy winning the Patriot. So that's just a fun matchup. McNeese and Santa Clara, super fun matchup as well. I know Will Wade's not a McNeese anymore, but like Bill Armstrong, like I don't want to say that they didn't skip a beat because they're not nearly as competitive as probably they were last year. But they bring back Javon Garcia, who was a Southland Player of the Year last year. They have Galway Dual. They have Larry Johnson, who's a Creighton transfer. Like, McNeese still has guys. Like, that's a legitimate program now in Southland. And Santa Clara, we know, is always very competitive in WCC. Thierry Dolan is now on that team as well. Obviously, he played in the G League last couple of years. And then Chattanooga and St. Mary's, a game that Conrad will be covering on Friday.
That's right. I will be the Center Hub's boots on the ground. So I encourage everyone, send in your comments or your questions, right? So I can, get the inside info.
For what it's worth, I wrote the SoCon for the magazine. Chattanooga, I had as the preseason number one. Them and Furman, like, are literally neck and neck. Like, they're really a 1A, 1B. But Teddy Washington from SEMO, who made the OVC first team last year, is awesome. Jakari Johnson was at D2 Tribeca last year. He's awesome. Billy Smith from Bellarmine. Brennan Watkins, North Dakota State transfer, who previously played for Daniel at VMI. Colin Mulholland is the one holdover that's going to be starting for Chattanooga. I think Chattanooga is really good. Once again, they were probably the best mid-major in the country last year, and they showed that by going to the end. They won the NIT championship, right, over Irvine? I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they won the NIT, and they're going to be really good once again. And St. Mary's, we know they've made 4 straight NCAA tournaments. If it weren't for Gonzaga, they'd be their powerhouse of the WCC.
I mean, this St. Mary's team, though, is this St. Mary's team is really interesting. I mean, they got like 3 legitimate 7-footers. I mean, they're all like north of 7 feet, right? They're like 7'1", 7'2". I mean, they've always played a very slow pace. Like, they like to grind it down, in the half court. So, I mean, like, all the more, I feel like they're really building upon what they've done like the last couple of years. So it'll really be interesting to see. Because again, right?
I really like Polias Morauskas. I think he took a step last year after transferring from Arizona. I think he takes another step, and I think Mikey Lewis takes a massive step. So I'm super high on the St. Mary's team.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're, for them, I know Conrad mentioned this off air that their non-conference is not easy, St. Mary's, by any means. San Francisco is a much tougher team now in the WCC. I think they're going to give them some issues this year. So St. Mary's, I think if they can just weather the storm in the non-conference, they're going to be fine. And we know Randy Bennett is one of the best coaches and most consistent guys in the country. So I'm not really too concerned about St. Mary's. I think they'll be fine. But that'll be a great game. Chattanooga is really good. I love what Dan Earl's done there. So that should be a really fun game.
Do you guys have any games to add on Friday that we didn't already at least touch upon?
No, I think that's pretty thorough. I think Friday really sets the stage for like this mega Saturday, the mega weekend, right? Where you got to clash of the Titans almost, from start to finish.
I mean, I can give you 2 if you want. Youngstown State, Grand Canyon should be interesting. I'm into Youngstown State tonight, for whatever reason. And then Troy Furman is another one. Sunbelt and the SoCon leaders. And then NC State plays UAB. Andy Kennedy's always had really good teams in the past. I know his team probably isn't as good this year as years past, but they're always a sneaky team in the American. And I don't think Will Wade's going to take that game lightly by any means.
No, I agree. So I'm looking at Saturday. The 2 main games. I mean, Saturday's a really good slate, but you have St. John's in Alabama at MSG and Arkansas, Michigan State. St. St. John's is a fun one. How we kind of talked about BYU and Villanova in terms of offense versus defense. I mean, that's the truest offense versus defense game in terms of schemes I've seen. St. John's and Alabama. So it's going to be interesting to see who kind of dictates that pace. Similar thing we said for Villanova BYU.
Yeah, I mean, I was at the St. John's Michigan exhibition game. St. John's can keep up. I mean, they can run. The question's going to be who plays point guard. Is it Dylan Darling? Is it Josiah Sannon? Is it Osiah Sellers? Is it Dylan Mitchell playing point forward? It's probably going to be a revolving door for a while until they can figure it out. Bama's going to be interesting because I know, defensively they've always had issues with Nate Oates' teams over the years. But I love LeBaron Filan. I really think he's got a chance. I don't know what Conrad, you know his NBA stock probably much better than I do. But he's got to be at least the top 20 guy on the board, I would think, probably after this year, just based on what he's going to do there and what Nate Oates is going to run for him.
I don't disagree. Yeah. I mean, I actually just did my board today. I'm pretty sure he's around like 20 something, like the early 20s. So yeah, definitely a lot to build on from last season. So yeah, that's definitely going to be a great game. I think a lot of kind of like the things to look out for are definitely going to be the topics of interest. But yeah, I mean, there's just like a lot of games on Saturday, which are really interesting for different reasons. So
we have St. John's, Alabama. We have Arkansas, Michigan State. We just talked about Arkansas as a potential Final Four team. What do we think of Michigan State this year? Because I was very down on Michigan State going into last year, and of course they ended up being a 2 seed in the tournament, and I was flat out wrong on them. But I'm even lower on Michigan State this year. I'm so low on Michigan State. I think when John and I did the one and done preview for the Big Ten preview, I had Michigan State 11th in the Big Ten. Michigan State never finishes 11th in the Big Ten.
No.
So I know
No.
I made that prediction knowing I'm going to be wrong.
Yeah.
But just like preseason wise, I just don't say it. But what do you think about that game?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a slugfest. I mean, these are two teams that physicality is the name of what they want to do. I think it's going to be a rock fight. You got two great coaches, Calipari and Izzo. I think Arkansas is going to win the game. I just think the talent level is just much better on Arkansas side. Michigan State, I think, in terms of a bracket where they're going to end up, probably somewhere between 8 and the bubble. It's probably where they're going to end up. I think in the Big Ten, again, like you said, 11's probably, I think I had them 9th, when I did my standings for Big Ten. So they're going to be in the lower half. They just don't have the star power they usually have. But yeah, I would take Arkansas to win that game.
What about?
Yeah, I'd agree. Oh no, I was just gonna simply say with Michigan State, I think just the nature of the roster, they seem to be poised to play a little bit more up tempo as compared to years past. They don't really seem to be playing any traditional bigs. Let's put it that way. I mean, I don't think they really have many traditional bigs. I'm curious to see how Cohen Carr does this season. It seems like they're kind of implying that they'll use him more as like a small ball power forward, which I mean totally suits him given the nature of his above the rim kind of play. Kind of make use of that, try to get him going early. But yeah, I'm with Andrew. Like they don't really have the level of playmaking that they've had in prior years. I feel like, especially against elite defenses, when they get themselves set in the half court, I think it will be a struggle to kind of manufacture offense consistently.
What about Gonzaga and Oklahoma? That's a
good one.
That's two teams I'm pretty high on. I just said Gonzaga is a potential Final Four candidate. Now that Tyon Grant Foster is eligible, they obviously have him. They have Graham Ike. They have Braden Huff. Seal Ventus is back after transferring there and tearing his Achilles, then ACL back-to-back years. That's when we saw him play. He was Big Sky Player of the Year. They just have a lot of guys. Mario Saint-Sucre. I'm very excited to see Gonzaga play. And then Oklahoma has a really good backcourt with, say what you want about Nigel Pack. He started for a Final Four team and an Elite Eight team. And Xavier Brown from St. Joe's, I think, is a very good fit there. I think he's awesome. They have Tate Davis from Notre Dame. They just, I don't know. Those are two teams that are just hiring, and I think that game's going to be very high scoring and very fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, Oklahoma, I think, is being undervalued. I think they're going to finish top 10 in the SEC. I think, the backcourt with Brown and Pack is good. They can score. I love what Tay Davis brings for Oklahoma. I thought he was good at Notre Dame last year. He was very good for an underwhelming Notre Dame team. And let's face it, there is pressure on Porter Moser. As much as people don't want to talk about it, like he's got to do a little better than what he's done at Oklahoma. And we know last year his name kind of came around in the coaching carousel a little bit. So I think this is a big year for him. Gonzaga is going to be fine. Look, they're always good. Mark's a great coach. Tyon Grant Foster being eligible is great. I love that they did that. Shouldn't have gotten to that point.
Yeah.
But it did. And I'm interested to watch Grant Ike. It's a guy that a lot of people think could be a potential All-American. So I'm curious to watch Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga wins the game. You want my take? I think the Zags win it, but I think it's going to be very high scoring, very up tempo.
Yeah.
And it should definitely be a fun game.
I agree.
I mean, I think for Gonzaga, again, if you're a diehard fan or a casual fan, you got to be excited for Mario Sansupri, right? I mean, I think he brings a lot of intrigue for the right reasons. Again, I mean, they've had they've enjoyed some really great guards. We know they're even in the NBA, but I mean, I think Mario brings definitely a different dynamic that they haven't had in quite some time. I'm trying to think the last time they've had that kind of slashing dynamic guard. A lot of them are more kind of disciplined, ball handlers, the Nemhards and everything like that. But again, I'm looking for a big season from Braden Huff. I'm a Braden Huff truther. So, hey man, there's something about fundamentals, right?
So other games on Saturday right now, USF and GW might be the mid-major game of the week. USF is either them or Memphis, favorite to win the American, so they're definitely top 2. And GW is either top 2 or top 3, depending who you ask, in the A10. That's just a super fun game. Memphis and St. Fran might even be better. So maybe I take back my statement that's the mid-major game of the week. But either way, Memphis, St. Fran is awesome. USF GW is awesome. ESPN Plus is I'm going to be tuned into on Saturday, even with this caliber of high major games like St. John's in Alabama or Oklahoma, Gonzaga, so on and so forth. Houston and Towson is a super fun one. As I said, Towson should be the favorite to win the CAA, and Houston we know is a top 2 or 3 team in the country. Providence, Virginia Tech, okay. It's still 2 high major teams.
But I think it's a must-win for both Providence and Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
Because those are 2 coaches that need to get off the hot seat now.
Yeah.
Whoever loses that game, that coach's seat is already spinning after one game. That is a massive game for both teams. I think Providence is going to win, but I think it's a huge game for both.
Shout out to Chattanooga. They were playing St. Mary's on Friday at St. Mary's and playing at UNLV on Saturday. That you don't see college basketball teams play back-to-backs, but holy shit, that is a tough back-to-back for one of the better mid-majors.
I know.
In Chattanooga.
In a non-tournament format too. You're actually traveling.
That's usually when you see the MTEs. You see the
Right.
Yeah. So shout out to them for playing the back-to-back games. Again, I'm high on both those teams. I had Chattanooga winning the SoCon for the magazine, and UNLV is a team that I just can't quit this year. I think the upside is pretty good.
What about Villanova? What about Villanova Queens? I mean, let me just tell you something. Queens College is going to make noise in the ASUN.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to be. I'm not saying Villanova is going to win by 40 because they probably will win by 25. But I'm just telling you, Queens College, keep an eye on Queens. I would not be surprised if that game is like a 12-point game with 5 minutes to go against Villanova.
Oh, I believe that.
That's all I'm saying.
So then let's look at Sunday. Indiana and Marquette in Chicago. Center Hook contributor Matt Kustiff will be covering that one on scene. So
All right.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
Again, send Matt all your questions and everything like that. Trust me, he'll get all the info.
Oh, yeah.
Add Who_5 on Twitter. What else do we have? We have
A&M, Oklahoma State.
A&M Oklahoma State is a good one. I saw my VMI. Cadets are playing. They're playing at Missouri. I can't quit this VMI team. They have the second most continuity in the country behind Purdue this year. And they were almost 500 last year. And given they're a military institution, that might be one of the toughest jobs in the country. So shout out to Andrew Wilson. I think they're going to give Missouri a run for their money. I'm also a little biased. North Texas, at Loyola Chicago is going to be a super fun one as well. FAU, Liberty, the Field of 68 tip-off is a fun one. And then Washington at Baylor.
Yeah.
Those are two teams that whatever, it's first game of the season or second game of the season for them. But come March, that game is going to matter for both those teams.
Mm-hmm.
I think
it is.
Yeah. I think Washington has now become like a favorite, as a team to kind of bounce back and return to the tournament. I think all the people that believe that, I think that that trust in them is well warranted. But yeah, that one's really exciting. And again, if you're a casual fan or a diehard fan or NBA draft fan, I think Washington, you'll have all eyes on Hans Steinbach, quickly rising up the draft boards. Again, I think well earned, getting that benefit of the doubt. Yeah, this Washington team is deep. They're very deep. I'm surprised that it took so long for them to get a little bit more recognition, but hey, that's fine. That's why you play the games.
Right. Yeah, I would say I actually think Washington's going to win that game. The issue I have with Baylor is I just don't know what they have. Like, you lose Blob Wright, you lose Edgecombe, right? Yesufu's going to be pretty good. We know that. He's been projected in a lot of mocks. Conrad would know better than me. He's been projected pretty high.
Yeah.
But Scott Drew's teams have struggled defensively the last few years. Like, he lost a lot of his staff, and I'm a little bit concerned with Baylor. Like, I think they're going to be a bubble team. I do. I think they're going to be in, like, similar to Michigan State, like that 8-11 area. Washington's good. They're really good. Agnosevich is going to be out, which sucks. The Lipscomb transfer, but they got Claude and Yates are both really good. And those guys can score. I think Washington goes in there and wins that game. I do. I'll take
agree.
that.
I agree. I think, and what I'm about to say, I don't mean this like I mean this in a good way, right? It's not meant to be disrespectful, but I think that this year's Baylor team is what people thought last year's Baylor team was, which is I think there was this perception because you see VJ Edgecombe and everything like that, right? You think that Baylor, they're just last year's team was just a bunch of like athletes, right? And all they do is just kind of run up and down the court, try to overwhelm you with power and athleticism. No, you started to see over the course of the season, they're a lot way more skilled. They had Rob Wright last year and everything like that. This year, I think they are a little bit more like they're really going to tap more into like their speed and their athleticism. Yesufu, yeah, great talent, interesting prospect, but the rest of the guys, especially like their younger guys, like they're very raw. They're very raw. Like they will win their fair share of games. And again, that's not to say that their basketball IQ is low or anything. No, not at all. But I think like they're a very young developing team. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they stack up as the season progresses.
Okay, then we have Matt saying UW will be in the bubble mix. Baylor will be in 9 seed for now. It's funny because I think I might be a little higher on Washington than I am Baylor, just in terms of talent. But I understand. I think the Big Ten gets maybe 12 bids in March Madness. It'll be much tougher for Washington to get in the tournament than Baylor. because I think the Big Ten is better than the Big 12, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, look, Washington also last year was so bad. So, like, the jump they have to take is quite a bit, to get in the tournament. I'm not saying they can't do it. They obviously have the talent. The coach is very good. Baylor was a 9 seed last year, I think, if I remember right. They were a 9 seed last year. And their team is worse this year, in my opinion. Like, Edgecombe's not there. Wright's not there. And like Conrad said, they have a lot of raw talent on this group. Like, I think it's going to take time. Like, will they be a tournament team? Yes. I'm
Andre
not worried
Iguodala's
about
son is there.
Right. Andre Jr. Right. Like, I'm not worried about Baylor. Like, do I think Baylor's going to miss the tournament? No. Do I think they're going to be, a worse seed than last year? I do. I think they're probably a 10, which is disappointing for a program that won a national championship 4 or 5 years ago. But I think Washington's going to be the surprise team in the Big Ten. I just believe that, and I'm just curious to see how Danny Sprinkle puts it all together. Honestly.
Okay. That pretty much covers the week for me. Do you guys have any final points to add?
I will just say for Sunday, if you're in the mood for like kind of a mid-major surprise, I do like Cal State Northridge at North Dakota. I'm admittedly biased since I wrote the Big West and everything like that. But Northridge quietly put together a very nice team. Got a good mix of, from like, young guys, or I should say young guys, like, high school recruits and transfers. Larry Hughes II comes over from St. Louis. I think he's looking to kind of recapture kind of like his level of play from like his freshman, sophomore year. So yeah, should be interesting.
Conrad, you're frozen, but I heard everything you said, but it looks so funny.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
I am frozen on.
Oh, there we go. There he goes.
So Conrad, I'm sure, will be back. Andrew, any final thoughts this week?
Yeah, just a couple games to keep an eye on. Saturday, Utah Valley, Boise State. Utah Valley's a very good WAC team.
Yeah.
And Boise State, I think, is a team that will be on the bubble like last year. Remember, they had Tyson Dagenhart, and they were close to getting in, and then they ended up, I think they won the crown last year. So that's an interesting game to keep an eye on. Other than that, I'm just excited for the games to start. I mean, we've been waiting for this for 3 months. All the portal, the roster changes, all the eligibility stuff that's gone on, the coaching changes that have happened. I think we're all just ready for it to get started. And, I'm just very fascinated. Like, as a bracketologist, for me, the biggest thing I watch for is, can these mid-major conferences get better? Like, can the A10 get multiple bids? Can the WCC get 3 bids? Can San Francisco get in the tournament, right? Like, the Mountain West, how are they going to do? They added Grand Canyon. UNLV is a team a lot of people are high on. Like, how's that going to go? I'm just curious to see if any of these mid-major conferences can actually make a dent in the field. Because I'm pretty convinced the Power 5 is just going – I made the bold prediction. I think every mid-major league is a 1-bid league this year. I'm not – it's no disrespect to St. Mary's or Utah State. I think they're both very good teams. They're very well coached. I just think the NCAA has an agenda to put Power 5 teams in the tournament because they make more money. It's unfortunate, but I just think that's the way it might end up. But I will say this, though. I do like Utah State and St. Mary's. I do. And I think Jared Calhoun's going to get a Power 5 job next year, if not sooner, if not the year after, whatever. My prediction was he was going to end up at Cincinnati, right? Yeah. Cincinnati was going to let go of Wes Miller. He was at Youngstown State. That would have been my pick for the Cincinnati job. But that's my thing. I want to see how the mid-major conferences do this year. That's really what it comes down to for me.
Yeah, for me, I mean, as a guy who covers basketball locally in Philadelphia, I still see a Big 5 team get in the tournament because it's been a couple years even. Like, Villanova didn't even make the tournament since Jay Wright has retired. Obviously, the Kyle Neptune era did not even come close to expectations. So I'm just, given the storied history of Villanova and Temple, St. Joe's, Penn, I mean, all these schools have such basketball tradition of the Sal Drexel. I want to see a Big 5 team get in the NCAA tournament this year. So,
it can happen. I mean, I think Villanova has a shot. Yeah. They're probably your best chance. obviously, like they usually are. But I think a Caden Lewis is really good. I mean, we spoke to him at Big East Media Day. I mean, that kid is mature beyond 18 years old.
It might be his last Big East Media Day.
I think he is a one and done.
Yeah.
Well,
Conrad can speak to it better than me.
No. We've definitely, amongst all our TCH peers, we definitely believe he has one and done potential. The choice, it'll ultimately be his choice. Does he want to? I mean,
Right.
just the nature of the draft now. If you're not a guaranteed first rounder, do you really want to?
Even if you are a guaranteed first rounder nowadays, that might not be enough anymore.
Exactly. Look at Yaxel, right?
Yeah.
So
look at LeBaron Philon.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I'm keeping an eye on is the freshman with Peterson, Tabanska, Boozer, Michael Brown, Nate Amon at Tennessee, is something. And then the National Player of the Year race, I think is going to be really fascinating because I do think it's wide open.
Maybe before we go, let's each name one freshman that you're interested to see this upcoming week. You want for whatever reason.
I don't want to steal yours. You're the draft guy, so why don't you go first?
No, I mean, you could go with anyone, any of the big names. I'll just throw one out because I feel like I think that everybody recognizes his talent. There's just a lot of question marks of one, can he actually put it all together, and will it be able to be integrated into the team? That would be Isaiah Harwell at Houston, right? I think there's a lot of questions about does his skills translate enough to the college game? Obviously, there's a lot of optimism about him as an NBA draft prospect. But I mean, with a team as talented, as loaded as Houston, you would think, right? It's not like he has to do the heavy lifting like all at once. But I just want to see, is there a level of comfort, or is there really going to be more of an adjustment period?
I'll say Koa Pete, just because I don't know how legitimate of an NBA draft prospect he is, just because I think he's gonna be a very high level college player. I just think we need to see, starting with Florida tomorrow, or his game against Florida tomorrow, what exactly, what's what I'm looking for? What we find in his game that's translatable to the NBA. Because right now we don't know what that is.
Yeah, I'll give you two. Caleb Wilson, North Carolina. I'm so fascinated. I think for North Carolina to get to where Hubert Davis has to get to save his job, I think that kid's got to be their best player every single night. He's got to carry them. The other one I like is Tyster Ritter at Virginia.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be really good. I think he's going to have a huge impact. I mean, I love Malik Thomas, the transfer from San Francisco, but I think Tyster Ritter is a very undervalued freshman right now that nobody even knows because they're too busy talking about Peterson and everybody else.
And Johan Grumlow, we're talking about Virginia.
Yeah, him too, for sure.
So, okay. Anything else to add before I sign off, or we think we're good?
I
enjoy the game.
Ready for tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Starting at 8 a.m. Eastern with Queens and Winthrop. Shout out to the Field of 68 for putting that what's 6? Quadruple headers for whatever. 6 straight games. A 6-time header. I don't know what that is. What's the 6-sided figure? Not a hexagon.
No, it's a hexagon.
Hexagon.
Right.
Okay, I'm gonna call it the hexagon header.
Okay, nice.
But anyway, starting tomorrow, follow us throughout every step of the way. We have boots on the ground all over the country in terms of going to games, covering games. You could see it all. We are now on Substack, so follow us at thecenterhub.substack.com. Meanwhile, again, starting tomorrow, I'm going to have my top 75 teams article out. We are going to have our mock draft video mock on our YouTube channel starting tomorrow morning. That'll be released tomorrow. And yeah, just all the college basketball coverage. Make sure you follow along with us. You can follow us all on all of our socials at @thecenterhub_BB. You can follow me on Twitter at @the_NBagel. That's NBAGELL. You can follow Andrew at Schaeffer. You can follow Conrad at CP3_777. Otherwise, yeah, use code ONEANDDONE for $30 off at CBB Analytics. That could be a free month. That would be $30 off a year-long subscription, whatever you guys prefer. But otherwise, we will be hopefully doing one of these live streams every week, every Sunday night. previewing the following week and covering what happened last week. So this is the first of many. If we don't talk to you guys before Sunday, then have a good week. Enjoy college basketball. There's a lot of good high-level games. And follow the coverage along with us. Otherwise, we will talk to you guys soon. Thanks for listening.